This is What's New Radio Extra Time. Each month, we share a longer interview with one of our guests in the energy sector on topics highlighting our services and our 100-100 vision for Barbados. Our company vision for 100% renewable energy and 100% electrification continues to be the forefront in the way we do business at Light and Power. One of the aspects of our 100-100 vision is electrification across Barbados, and hence our partnership with the Barbados Transport Board, who shares that vision for electric, clean energy public transport. Our partnership not only contributes to climate change by reducing CO2 emissions, but also contributes to the health of our communities. Our guest this month is Lynda Holder, Chief Operations Officer at the Barbados Transport Board. She is speaking with Light and Power's Communications Coordinator, Jennifer Blackman.
Welcome to What's New Radio, Lynda.
Thank you so very much for inviting me, Jennifer. Thank you so much to Light and Power for engaging us on the topics as well.
Thank you for that. First, I would like to congratulate the Transport Board on continuing to operate safely during COVID-19. The Transport Board is a critical service for the mobility of some of our essential workers in healthcare, social care, and our supermarket workers. What has been the impact of COVID-19? Some of the operational challenges.
Well, as we all know, the Transport Board itself is also made up of essential workers. So we've been having to balance that with working with the rest of the island. For us, our primary challenges would have been to convince everyone that traveling on public transport during something of this nature requires that you take better care of yourself, which will then extend to the wider community. We've been reinforcing the wearing of masks. You might not be aware, but masks are now mandatory on public transport. We have been working with the persons to remind them to sanitize. We have flyers all over the place. And of course, the social distancing. That has proven to be one of our biggest challenges. Barbadians as a community love to hug and be very close to each other. We're finding that for public transport, as we are fortunate enough to still have public transport running, we have to keep reminding persons, you can no longer do that. You now have to be your brother's keeper, but from a distance. That has proven to be one of the biggest challenges we're having to deal with. And of course, it's always the cost of having to keep things going, something of this nature. So that is also a challenge. But I believe that we have been making strides.
On the topic of safety and wellness, you recently launched a new initiative to keep persons commuting on your vehicles safe. Safety is key for us at Light and Power. And when we heard about this initiative, we knew instantly that we had to do our part to support. And we have. Can you tell us more and share what donations such as ours will enable you to do?
I'm not sure how we would have been able to reach the point we're at without donations such as what you have done and other companies similar to yourself. One of the biggest things we did, which is new to Barbados, and in checking around with other territories, no one has actually done this. We have started to install dispensing, hand sanitizing dispensers on our buses. So outside of persons being asked to practice proper hygiene and to wash your hands, or if you don't have soap and water, to sanitize, we have started to install dispensing units at every single departure gate in our terminals. So when you are in the terminal and you're going to board a bus, there are no dispensers at every gate before you board the bus. But more than that, and this is where I'm really grateful for the assistance from the Barbados Light and Power and other entities such as yourself, we've now been able to extend that program to placing dispensers on the individual buses. So if you board a bus on the route somewhere, there is a dispenser at the door as soon as you enter that you can then use to sanitize. Things like that are going to make the difference with how we handle and move past COVID-19. So other entities such as yourself have been joining in that donation. Some have given us dispensers, some have given us the actual liquid to go into the dispensers, but combined, all of them have made it possible for us to be able to keep our staff and by extension the traveling public as safe as we possibly can and to contribute to flattening the curve as it relates to COVID-19.
That's amazing, because some commuters might have to dig in their bag to get their sanitizer before they board the bus, so that's fantastic. Today, I'd also like to talk about sustainable cities and the partnerships that must happen to make this a reality. In Light and Power's 100-100 vision, 100% electrification and 100% renewable energy by 2030, we have said that our public transport sector plays a key role in the overall plan for Barbados. Last year, you introduced 33 new electric vehicles to your fleet of buses. What some of our listeners may not know is that we worked very closely with you on that project. Tell us about the project and the role of partnerships in achieving that success.
Well, let me start with the partnerships. The introduction of electric mobility to Barbados was not possible without a number of entities being involved. And again, Light and Power was way up front and helped to guide us, because obviously this is more your area than ours, at least the electricity arm of it. And when you have the two blending together, we brought the mobility, you brought the use of electricity. We were then able to bring something to Barbados that has never been done before. Not only did we introduce the 33 electric buses to the island and have been able to keep them on the road, they came in on time, they came in under budget, and they've stayed on the road working wonderfully well. Not only did we do that, the response to that project was so overwhelming that the government made a decision to purchase additional buses. Now, we could not have reached that point without the assistance of the Barbados Light and Power. The expertise that came from your team in guiding us in what we need to look for as we were bringing in this whole new technology, things that to you might have been standard, but to us was new, like switch gear and transformers and other technical terms that your team was guiding us through and telling us what we need to look for to make sure we did not just get rid of one expense and incur another big expense that would not have worked for the best interest of the commuters and the government and the people of Barbados. But what they were able to guide us through was the best way to do what we were doing. And because of that, we have been able to reduce the carbon footprint of Barbados and the Barbados Transport Board. And we have been able to look closer and in a more positive way at how we will function in the future. Presently, I'm not sure if your listeners are aware, but previously all of the buses that were operated by the Transport Board were diesel-powered buses. We all know what that means for us and for the future generations. It is unsustainable, one, and it is also not going to be the healthiest way of letting the future operate. So we sought to look at something that would be a better alternative and a healthier and cleaner alternative, and we were able to do that with the electric buses. The expertise, as I said, brought to the table by your team was phenomenal. We were able then to put together some of the best minds on this island as it relates to transportation and electricity and government procedures. In that committee, which Light and Power was a part of, we had the head of Government Electrical Division, we had the head of the Government Workshop, we had the Chief Planner for Government, we had, outside of those persons, we had persons who understood what is the expectation for the future. And Light and Power was there to help guide us. And I want to say thank you publicly. I've said it in so many different forums, but I want to say it here again. Thank you, Light and Power.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that, and you're welcome on behalf of the management team at Light and Power. I'm sure we were honored to participate in that. And for the people who have not yet traveled on one of these new buses, what are the benefits of traveling on one of them?
Here we have to sing and dance and shout our praises. So if you've not traveled on a new electric bus, let me start to tick off the new things that we brought to the table. First and foremost, we brought air-conditioned buses. Now we know that here in Barbados it is exceptionally hot. And that was one of the biggest complaints we had. It didn't matter if you had every single window open, the place is hot. So we bought air conditioning. Then we have the older generation who has helped to work to bring us to where we are. One of the complaints they had was that the buses, as they were too tall. They could not get into certain areas. They had challenges stepping up into the bus. These new buses came with kneeling technology.
Wow.
So you're able to get onto the bus better. So that was something else that we added. We added kneeling technology. But we didn't stop at kneeling technology. We also added wheelchair access. So every single electric bus now has space for a wheelchair on that bus as well. And the wheelchair ramp is directly across from where that wheelchair lies. So we brought air-conditioned buses. We brought them with kneeling technology. They included the access for wheelchairs. And then we said, you know what? If we want the traveling public to truly embrace these buses, we need to remember what today's world is all about. And the demographic that usually travels on a bus are the demographic that are into social media. So we added Wi-Fi. Every single bus comes with Wi-Fi. And it doesn't only come with the Wi-Fi facility, but it also comes with charging ports. So every bus has charging ports by every seat, so that if you get on board that bus and your device, for whatever reason, is not at maximum, you can plug it in and you can charge. And you can be on the bus and doing the work or whatever it is you want to do, even if it's just socializing with your friends. So we felt that we needed to bring something new, dynamic, and more in tune with today's world when we brought in those buses. So it comes with all of those things. Additionally, for the persons who have other challenges, be it mobility or hearing or visual, we added some other little things as well. So the buses are exceptionally quiet, really quiet. So we know that that has proven to be a challenge, and we're still working on how we will fix that for persons with hearing disabilities. But on the bus, if you're actually in a bus traveling, there is a particular type of sound that you hear as you are stopping by a bus pole to disembark. So if you are having a challenge with either visually noting where you are or hearing when the bus is stopping, we've covered that. We have an announcer in the bus, an electronic announcer that tells you where you are. So it literally will say to you, approaching wherever. So you have that visual, you have that verbal enunciation of where you are. And then it also flashes across the screen up by the driver. So you have a visual enunciation of where you are. So that when you're about to disembark, you know what area you're in. So we added a number of things to make sure that as much as we possibly could, we address the issues that had been brought to our attention as being areas that needed building up. So we didn't just bring buses and say, I brought in buses, now we've done our part. We brought in buses that added value to the lifestyle and to the life of the commuters. And for me, I think we have done a major good. We've gotten positive feedback from every category of traveler. And because of that, as I said earlier, we've taken that, and the government of Barbados has said, you know what, this works so well, bring some more. So we've ordered some more.
Now I feel like parking my car, Lynda. What are the routes that these buses travel? Because I'm sure our listeners want to know, well, do I have easy access to one of these routes? Just a few off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, I can tell you the ABC Highway. Guaranteed you will find an electric bus on the ABC Highway. We've also said we don't only want them to be on the big routes that persons will see. We're taking them into the country as well. So buses are going into Chalkymount, buses are going down to Bathsheba. As long as the road network is good, and we've had an ongoing relationship with our parent ministry, the Ministry of Transport, Works and Water Resources, they're going and they are debushing the roads. So the areas that the bushes and the tree hang over the road, they're clearing that to make sure that these buses can traverse those areas. Remember, these buses are 3/4 glass. There's a lot more glass on these buses. So they're cutting back a lot of the areas. But you're getting buses going into Bathsheba. You're getting buses going into St. John, into Bowmanston. We're sending buses into Connell Town. It is not going to be a case where a person said they brought the buses and they put them, as people like to say, only in the touristy districts. No, these buses were brought in for the people of Barbados, and as such, we are sending them everywhere that we can send them, as long as it is conducive, obviously, and will not cause us a lot of damages. And we are working to make sure that that list spreads and spreads and spreads every day. So you will see an electric bus in every single parish of the island. You might not see it all the time, but you will definitely see it. In St. George, we go through the Flat Rock area. As I said, in St. John, we do Bowmanston. In St. Philip, we do Sam Lawrence Castle and Bayfield. In Christchurch, well, Christchurch is on ABC Highway, so we do all of that. In St. Lucie, we're doing Connell Tongue. In St. Pierre, we are putting an electric bus everywhere, to the point that persons normally stop me on the street and say, "Are you sure you all only purchased 33? Because I'm saying them all over the place. I think we all purchased 100 and didn't say anything. We purchased 33, but we have them all over. And they've been working since we launched those buses on August 23rd, 2020. They have worked every single day.
So Lynda, that was an amazing breakdown of the routes. I am very excited to have my bus ride. So with all of that, obviously these electric buses need to be charged. How does that happen? How often? Is solar technology incorporated in any way?
Well, Jennifer, they are charged. Unfortunately, we have not yet finalized the solar aspect of it, but there are chargers at every location where the buses sleep, which is what would be the depots. So there are chargers at Weymouth, at Speightstown Terminal, and at our Mangrove Depot, because those are the three areas where the buses sleep. And we are now actually working closely again with the Barbados Light and Power. We are working with them to guide us in how to manage the charging process. What we do not want, as I said earlier, is to take away one bill, which would be the fuel for diesel, and replace it with another bill, which is the electricity. So we're doing two things. It's a twofold type of thing. We immediately purchased chargers when we purchased the buses, so every bus came with its own charger. That was not necessary, but it was convenient to make sure that we didn't have to wait for a bus to finish, that type of thing. So every bus can charge whenever it needs to charge. But even having done that, we were again advised by your technical team, you don't want every single bus on the charger at the same time because it sends up your average kilowatt. That demand rate jumps very high. So they were guiding us on how best to do that. So when we looked at it, we said, you know what, maybe it's better if we don't do this manually, but we bring in some sort of software to do this for us. Again, this is where your team came in and were very handy, and they guided us through the process as to what type of software was required. So now we have on every single bus a device that tells us what is the state of charge of the battery as the bus is working. That device also tells me exactly where that bus is, if it has stopped anywhere for an extended period, if there's something else going on with it that we need to pay attention to. And when it comes in and it's time for that bus to be charged, that device says to me, yes, go ahead and charge, don't charge, charge only to this point, you don't need to do this, that type of thing. And that has proven to be extremely helpful in guiding us through the process. The next step, because that was just the first step, the next step is going to be to move to solar. So we are working through that as well. All of our locations have either rooftop space or space around us that we can do ground mount, but we will be heading towards solar as our next step in how we will manage this particular process. It is going to be an ongoing thing, and we are going to be partners for an extended period on this particular project.
Sounds really exciting, and I'm glad that you're able to explain that. We work with you to keep your bills down.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Staying on that innovation and technology focus, for both of us, innovation and technology are at the center of what we're doing. So we're focused on renewable energy and customer care. That's core to our 100-100 vision, which covers things like our AMI meters, our solar plant and battery storage at Trents, and the Clean Energy Bridge. How are the Transport Board's plans shaping up in support of the National Energy Policy?
Well, the National Energy Policy, as it was articulated by the Cabinet of Barbados, speaks to us moving to a cleaner operating environment, again, for the health of the future generations and for those who are still here. The purchase of electric buses for public transport and for electric mobility for all is just one step in that direction. What that did was to signal the commitment of the government of Barbados to making sure we move towards clean energy. So as a part of that process, I said earlier, we purchased 33 buses. Then the Ministry of Energy assisted us in getting another 2 buses through the Smart Energy Fund, which is a project they're working with the IDB on. So we got 2 more buses. So there are actually 35 electric buses on the roads of Barbados right now that are managed by the Transport Board. And then, of course, we agreed we would purchase some additional buses. And that is an additional 14 buses that are coming. So at the end of the day, we will have 49 buses in public transport on this little island. And let me tell you, this is the largest fleet of electric buses being used for public transport in the Southern Caribbean. So the other areas are now branching into it, and everyone is looking towards Barbados to see what this means for us. And it means a lot when you speak about cutting down on fossil fuel and things of that nature. So we are going to be looking in that direction, and that is the step that the government is taking. Of course, there are going to be other areas that will come out of that. You're going to be talking about pedestrianizing Bridgetown. You know, you're going to talk about the amount of cars that are on the road. And as you just said, you want to put down your car and take a bus to get where you're going. We'll be pushing that and reminding persons you can still do what you need to do, and we will drive you. So we will be telling you to dump the pump for a little bit, and let's see how that works. There are going to be other little innovations that will come out. But yes, this is just one step in that direction.
Well, speaking of innovations, have you heard the news that in the US and parts of Europe, they have been conducting trials with driverless cars for a few years now? Can you imagine a driverless utopia coming to Barbados?
I eagerly anticipate being around to test a driverless public service vehicle in whatever format it is done in. Because I think that the reaction time, because it is going to be robotic, will probably be a lot faster than what we can do as humans. But of course, you have to look at the human touch. There are things that we will pick up that a robot might not pick up. But I think it is going to be a fantastic initiative whenever it reaches here.
Indeed, exciting times ahead. Lynda, thank you so much for taking the time to share with our listeners here on What's New Radio. Good luck with the ongoing work towards electrifying your fleet, and please stay safe.
Thank you so very much. I wish the same for you and yours.
Thank you.
What's New Radio is broadcast on radio every month, or you can listen to past episodes on our website, blpc.com.bb. Find us on social media at BLPC Online or tweet BLPC. Our customer service team is always ready to serve you. Call 626-4300 during office hours or 626-9000 for emergency assistance.